Greetings, Gotham. Joker here. Please enjoy Nightwing's full walkthrough of Batman Arkham Origins. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Got it? Great. Well, enjoy the show. Oh, and remember, dying is easy. Comedy is hard.
Hey, what's happening, gamers? Welcome to our lore series, where we dive into the backstory of Batman, his different incarnations, and today we'll be looking at the graphic novel from 2011, Batman Noel, which is a retelling of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, featuring the Dark Knight as Scrooge, or rather, kind of interpreted that he's Scrooge.
Right. It's kind of fitting because this game is Christmassy, so
yes,
makes sense. And it was written, the graphic novel was written by Lee Bermejo,
who is known for his Joker novel from 2008 based on Heath Ledger's performance. So he's very good at knowing the Clown Prince of Crime's characteristics, but Batman, he's okay.
Yeah, we have some interesting opinions on what he thinks about Batman.
But basically, how this book starts off, it's told from the perspective of somebody who isn't Batman. It's I don't want to give it away until the end of this video, but it's told from a different point of view, and how the basic thing starts is this character, Bob Cratchit, has a run-in with Batman, and basically he's down on his luck. He is collecting money for the Joker, which is not a good idea, actually. And, you know, he is being tracked by Batman. He gets spooked by Batman. They get into a confrontation, and Batman basically calls him scum and tells him, you know, you're nothing, I don't care if you have a family, blah, 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 blah. And from this point on, after being spooked by Batman and having a tracer put on him, he becomes kind of like Batman's bait, like a way for Batman to lure out the Joker. And this version of Batman doesn't really care what happens to the Bob Cratchit character and also his son, Tim, who, when I was originally reading this book, I thought that Tim was going to be Tim Drake, and that Nightwing would appear as the kind of like nephew character.
Yeah.
To bring the, you know, Christmas Carol thing full circle, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, I thought that it might have been Tim Drake as well. Of course, then they'd have to incorporate that to Tim Drake's backstory and stuff like that, but...
Right, which they could have gone that route if it was the animated series, like Sins of a Father type thing.
Exactly.
They didn't. We like Tim the way he is.
Yeah, and we'll hear about Nightwing. We wish Nightwing was kind of in this too, but yeah,
he's not.
We'll talk about that later.
He's not. Basically, this story takes place in the continuity where Jason Todd is dead, and he was the last partner for the Dark Knight. So Batman is more grim and brooding than he normally is. He has changed his costume from the kind of a blue and gold like emblem on his chest to a very dark, almost like gothic-looking Batman costume.
Yeah.
His face is all like messed up, in the fact that it looks like he hasn't shaven for a long time. He has bags under his eyes. He looks terrible.
And he's sick.
And he's sick in this book too.
And he won't take care of himself
because Joker's on the loose and
it's Christmas Eve, and he's still, you know, running around trying to find the Joker, and he will not take a break, even if, you know, Alfred is telling him, you know, he's sick, he needs to take care of himself, but he has to find the Joker. And I think that's why this graphic novel makes the parallel between him and Scrooge. That's another reason that he's, you know, he's not taking a break even on Christmas. And, you know, in the Christmas Carol, that's what Scrooge does. He doesn't want to even give Bob Cratchit, you know, the day off for Christmas.
Yeah, that's kind of how they go with that, because Scrooge didn't want to do anything with Bob Cratchit, but I still don't really like how they have Batman act like the Scrooge character. I don't think it works that well.
The graphic novel tries to draw a parallel between him and Scrooge, but I think that there's many things that don't fit, and I think maybe I don't understand if the author thinks that way about Batman, or maybe he's just doing it just, you know, tongue-in-cheek, like you don't take it very seriously, like, okay, these are just some things that are similar. But I really feel like the graphic novel really tries to act like Batman is really Scrooge-like, and I think it's really inaccurate to his character. He's really kind of the opposite of Scrooge.
Yeah, because
he's one of the most caring, wealthy people ever to
and
exist.
his whole mission in life, which is not just to run around beating up punks, which the author and narrator make you think that's all Batman does, that's what he enjoys doing, is roughing up criminals, is his mission in life is to make sure that no 8-year-old will lose his parents to violence and crime ever again. And he goes out and he wants to make sure that no families will be broken up. That's why he is basically like the angel of justice or vengeance in Gotham. You know, their dark angel watching over them every night.
Right.
That's why he pushes himself to the limits.
Right. I think the Batman Noel story tries to make you kind of think, like, has Batman lost sight of his original goals? But if you really know Batman, you know I do not think he ever loses sight of it for a minute.
No,
so,
but the way that they portrayed him in this book, it makes it look like he lost
like
sight
he
of
lost
his goals, which isn't true.
So anyway, yeah, pretty much like he has this tracker on Bob Cratchit, and he goes back to the Batcave, and what happens then is kind of the first ghost sighting.
Right, the first ghost, because you know in the book that Bob Marley comes and visits Scrooge and kind of messes with him, and that character, the way he appeared is because that character wasn't able to be redeemed. And in the same sense, Batman's partner who appears is Jason Todd. But although he doesn't appear in a speaking role, it could just be that Batman's hallucinating because he's very, very sick with pneumonia or something. You know, he just kind of appears and spooks Batman.
Yeah.
And they kind of go into, you know, he's been dead for a long time. So, I mean, the way that the author is writing this, it seems like they have some insight to Batman at some times, and other times it's just like someone telling a warped version of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, it does seem like, a warped version. Almost feels like it's a story Joker would tell or something.
Yeah, because there's no way that the author would have the type of insight into Batman's character unless it was someone that knew him.
Yes.
Originally, when I was reading it, I thought that the character who was telling the story was Jason Todd because of the mannerisms and how he spoke. He was very vulgar, very loose with his language. He spoke very like young, like a teenager.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it turns out it wasn't Jason Todd.
Yeah, but we'll let you guys know who it is
later.
In the end. But, right, so he sees Jason Todd, and this kind of idea that something like haunted him, I think, kind of affects him through the whole story.
Well, he's always haunted. The thing that's interesting about the whole Jason Todd death is Batman saw that as his greatest failure. Yeah. So he is constantly haunted by Jason Todd. Like, as, you know, he could have done better with him, but at the same time, the fact that it's Batman's greatest failure is he never should have brought Todd in to the fold because Todd couldn't handle it. Yeah. Todd was a loose cannon.
Right.
And someone that, you know, Batman just couldn't redeem. There's some people Batman can't save because those people don't want to be saved.
Yeah.
And Jason lost himself to rage and all this other stuff years ago, and, you know, he fell into the abyss. Bruce never fell into the abyss. Right. Bruce learned to channel his anger and to do the right things, but Jason did not. And that's why Jason was essentially killed by the Joker, is because he lost sight of the mission. He betrayed Batman as his soldier and his lieutenant, and he tried to win a war without, like, really any insight to the war.
So yeah, right. And actually, that is a really good insight into that, and that way the author got that part very correct.
Kind of, but Jason only appears in a cameo and flashbacks, like they would do in A Christmas Carol.
Right. So he sees the first ghost, and it is actually, you know, in the Christmas Carol, Ghost of Christmas Past. But these people that he sees after Jason Todd aren't really ghosts at all. No, they're living people. So the Ghost of Christmas Past, which I didn't like how they had Catwoman as the Ghost of Christmas Past.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. I didn't think that worked.
In A Christmas Carol, the Ghost of Christmas Past is a very innocent, childlike, almost fairy or angel-like ghost that is very, you know, calm and sweet and kind of goes through Scrooge's past and it pretty much, you know, shows him all of his failures and things he did right and things like that. But
Catwoman does none of this.
Catwoman doesn't really. It's odd because the writing that you're seeing says that she's taking him through his past, but then the actual pictures and what she's saying is she's just flirting with him and, you know, kind of, you know, as usual, playing a game with him, and he doesn't have time for it. And I guess in the novel, it's kind of like, I guess what they're trying to say is that Catwoman is kind of taking him back to his past in a, not actually taking him through to different parts of his past, but taking him back to the guy he used to be when he used to like to play the game with Catwoman. And
right.
It was more exciting.
Where they kind of showed like almost like an Adam West-like approach to like his costume and the way that he was smiling and things like that.
Yeah, it was like when things were more exciting for him, which I can kind of understand, you know, like when Batman probably first started out, you know, things were very exciting, and I'm sure when he first met Catwoman, it was like, oh, this
Unless
is
you go by Batman Year One.
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of like there was more possibility, and now it's just like I don't have time for this. I don't have time for her. You know, oh, she could have some information. No, I don't have time for this. And she didn't.
She lied.
So, but anyway, so we get Christmas past, and then I think which is more important to the story is the Ghost of Christmas Present comes.
Yes, I like that part. That was very well done. They picked the perfect person to play the jolly, you know, Ghost of Christmas.
The jolliest person that you could think of.
Superman.
In Batman's life.
Yep.
Yeah, Superman. And he kind of questions Batman a little bit. He's, you know, he's looking in on Bob Cratchit, and he's like, okay, you know, this guy's bait, and Superman kind of questions him a little, but not in a mean way, kind of like a brotherly kind of thing, like,
yeah,
hey.
Their interaction is very similar to a lot of their like Batman Superman team ups. I love the humor between the characters at this part.
Yeah.
Batman's very sarcastic and witty, and it really brought the book full circle.
I laughed out loud at a few points.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Superman says, you know, you are really sick. I can see, you know, that you have pneumonia or worse, which I didn't understand before, but he can actually see through him.
Yeah, he was using his X-ray vision, which he's done a couple times.
Yeah, and then he says, you probably couldn't even drive home. You know, it's probably not safe. And Batman says,
I have autopilot. Yeah, I'm losing my Batman voice.
I laughed out loud but there was a few things like that, and then pretty much, you know, in the Christmas Carol, the Ghost of Christmas Present signifies everything that's good in the here and now. You know, living life to the fullest, just being happy and just realizing what you have, being thankful, and, you know, other people that you care about, and, you know, and appreciating life. And I think Superman really is about all of that, but just like as if he was one of the ghosts from Christmas Present, like one of the ghosts from The Christmas Carol, he picks Batman up and is like, let me show you the city.
Yeah, and Batman's reaction as Superman's picking him up and exploring the city is priceless.
Yeah,
one of the things Batman hates the most about Superman is when Superman like actually picks him up and things like that. He's made reference to it in so many team-ups that they've been in. Even one of the Batman movies that we like, Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, like he's explaining to Superman how much he hates being picked up because it just, you know, it's not necessary. Yeah, it's totally humiliating. It's not necessary. And Superman's picking him up, and Bruce is just kind of like, you know.
So he kind of takes him over the city and shows him, like, here's everyone in Gotham. And Superman basically says to him, you can't just only worry about the lions, you actually have to think about the lambs as well. Meaning, you know, just these people and trying to live their daily lives, and not just thinking about, okay, I have to take down all these criminals, thinking about, you know, the people and what happens to them. But it's kind of interesting because it's like the novel tries to say that Batman needs to be shown that he has to care about people, but
he already does.
I think he already does, so that's why I don't understand about the story at all. Is it just doesn't make any sense to Batman's character. He already does care about each individual person so much.
Yeah, Batman does more for Gotham City than Bruce Wayne does. Bruce Wayne donates what he can, And, you know, he helps with orphanages and providing shoes for the homeless and things like that. But his money can only go so far. Eventually it's going to run out. It's what he does every night and how he, you know, sacrifices his life to be like this shadow protecting the people.
Yeah, and it really does influence what Gotham's criminals are able to do. I mean, when, you know, Batman was taken down for a while, and, you know, there was a fear that the Bat wasn't there anymore. I mean, the criminals went crazy, you know, it was like a,
We've
you know,
seen that
free-for-all.
in numerous things.
I
Yeah.
think it, like you were saying, I didn't even think of that, is, you know, it's just like the symbol that someone is there and you never know what corner he's going to be lurking around, and he's watching. And, you know, these criminals actually have to think twice about what they do.
Just like they said in this game, like, which is a quote from another Batman comic, I am the reason that the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises. But I am the fear that I instill in them, like, you know.
Yeah.
And they had to hire
Right.
assassins to try to stop me.
Right.
He says,
Totally.
that is what I am. He says,
I never.
am that fear.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because this graphic novel kind of shows Batman as this rich guy who doesn't care, and I think that's a feeling that a lot of people have, like, oh, you know, these big rich guys up in there, they don't care. And they make Batman just like, you know, one of them, and it's kind of like, okay, like you were saying, your money can only go so far. You can make money, and if you gave it all away, that would be great, and you know, some people would have a little more, but it's kind of like, money can only do so much, and
It's what you do.
it's Batman, his symbol, and, you know, that he actually cares about people. He can do more as Batman than he could as Bruce Wayne, like you said.
Even Conroy said that, you know, Batman is who he is. Bruce Wayne is the mask. Now, it's not saying that he doesn't use the Bruce Wayne identity to do good things. He does. You know, he gets
Yeah.
people's jobs, and he helps with the economy, and, you know, he does what he can, but he knows that eventually his fortune's going to run dry because he's
Right.
really not invested into maintaining his parents' fortune. He has a war that he has to win.
Yep.
You know, his legacy is to save Gotham, no matter what it costs him. He knows that he's going to go down someday. It could be like a punk with a gun, it could be the Joker, toothpaste, or, you know, even just old age. He knows that he's going to go down. But that's his choice, his decision. No
Right.
regrets.
And during this time that Superman is flying him over the city, they go through and they see a window, which is a perfect time that they could have kind of looked in on some of the Bat family, Nightwing, Barbara Gordon, because at this time during A Christmas Carol with Charles Dickens, Scrooge was shown what his actual family was doing on Christmas without him, when they had invited Scrooge and he said, no, I don't want to come, because, you know, he didn't care about his family. And, you know, in the Christmas Carol, people were making fun of Scrooge, and his nephew stood up for him and said, no, you know, Scrooge may have his rough spots, but I love him. And he couldn't, Scrooge was like, what? Why did he stand up for me? I don't understand why anyone would care about me. I don't understand. And I think that would have been really interesting to see Nightwing and what he said about Batman, like, you know, and even though Batman isn't, you know, talking with Nightwing, it might have been interesting to see what he probably would have been very nice to his, you know, his dad.
Yeah,
Very much.
I really was hoping that we would see Dick and Babs together having dinner and fulfilling the role of the nephew and nephew's wife, and, you know,
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon there, and them playing that game. That would have been great. But I mean, I did like that we got to see more of Jim's character.
Yep.
And, you know, the things that he said and how he's worried about Batman, and he
Yeah.
knows that, you know, the line between good and evil is blurred to Batman.
But he does-
he knows that Batman hasn't gone too far yet, and
And-
he's there as Batman's prescription of, like, saneness, is
He
what he
did
said.
say that, yeah.
Which
and
I thought was actually true.
I think it is. And he did stand up for Batman a little and say, you know, he's not insane when someone said he is. And, you know, it is interesting that, you know, Jim did, you know, he's definitely on Batman's side, which is nice. He's got a good friend. But anyway, as the story progresses, of course, there is the ghost of Christmas Future, which is the scariest ghost. And in this novel, it's played by the part of the Joker.
Yeah, but how the Joker even got to Batman is, you know, just like normal. Batman had his Batmobile wide out in the open, which, you know, Joker got to it, planted a bomb, And when Superman dropped Batman off, and this is what I didn't like about the novel, this is the only thing that really didn't make sense. Superman arrives in Gotham because he could hear Batman coughing all the way from Metropolis, or so he says. And he's only maybe a few hundred miles away when the bomb to the Batmobile goes off and Superman doesn't come running back. Like, Superman, unless...
Yeah, he would have heard it.
Yeah.
He just left, and then the bomb goes off.
Right. He was on his way back to Metropolis, and, you know...
It's kind of inaccurate to Superman's super hearing.
He would have been there in a heartbeat.
And he was worried about Batman to begin with, so he would have been keeping an ear on him anyway. So, but anyway, the bomb goes off in the Batmobile, and Joker is dragging him somewhere. He drags him to a cemetery and ends up burying him alive, and it's again in the writing of the story
like
that
the
is being
author,
told.
the narrative.
The author's saying maybe that, you know, the Scrooge character is hallucinating, maybe not, but you can clearly see in what's actually going on is that he's not hallucinating. The Joker's actually doing this.
Yeah, that's why I said there's like probably two narratives. There's like the rough rendition of a modern interpretation of Charles Dickens' story, and at the same time there's also a Batman story going on.
Yeah.
Because Batman isn't hallucinating. He was really dragged to Gotham Cemetery by the Joker and buried alive, and Joker crudely carved, you know, kind of a very like a Scrooge-like thing on his tombstone.
Oh,
like
right.
that he wasn't loved, and you
That
know.
nobody exactly didn't have friends or was something, I don't know.
But the hallucinations that Batman has is completely different than what Scrooge has.
Yeah.
Batman has this hallucination very similar to Frank Miller's book, where it's like an army of Batmen taking to the streets, except they're doing so in remembrance of the Caped Crusader, and they have his drive for justice, but they don't have the compassion. So it's like this Batman gang, like half of Gotham is like for Batman and waging war against the criminals and the innocent, and the other is like the gang of the Joker, the people who were responsible for taking down Batman. So there's like this massive chaos in Gotham. It's no more than just a turf war like every day.
Yeah.
And that's his greatest fear. Also,
Yep.
Commissioner Gordon supposedly is being put in prison for aiding and abating the Batman all those years, which I don't think would happen. I think that's stretching it too far.
I think some of these are his fears too. Like his greatest fears, like what ifs, like things. Maybe these wouldn't really happen, but
No, I don't
what
think
if they did? Like he's afraid they might happen. Like when you get to your darkest place, you worry about things. And I think, and then he starts saying this stuff about how when you get in the dirt so much, you get dirty and you don't even know you're dirty. And it's kind of the idea that maybe Batman, like you were saying earlier, at the very beginning of this, that perhaps, you know, he doesn't have any compassion. He just likes beating people up for fun now, or whatever. Just for he's lost sight of what he's doing. But I disagree with that completely because obviously he hasn't lost sight of it. So throughout this whole novel, as I'm reading and I'm going, no, you don't get it. Batman is not like that. You don't understand. So yeah, he's starting to, you know, question himself and, you know, what's he really about. And then what happens is the Joker ends up going after Bob Cratchit.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. Yeah.
He bursts through the door, and his little son Tim, who's kind of the character of Tiny Tim,
The sickly character.
who is the sweetest little kid ever. He's made himself a little makeshift Christmas tree, and he's just a sweetheart. Yes, that we thought was going to be Tim
Drake.
Drake,
it
but
wasn't.
it wasn't. It was just another Tim. So he busts through the door, and he kind of is joking around, saying he's Santa Claus, and then he says, "Let's play Clue. You know, I have a lead pipe," and the dad is so afraid. He's hiding, and then as soon as he says, you know, he's kind of threatening to get his son with a lead pipe, then the dad is like, "Do not touch my son," you know.
Right. The father shows courage, and he's getting ready to face the Joker. And right before the Joker can actually shoot the father, like with the revolver, like saying the whole Clue thing, you know, Joker killed
Right.
what's his name in the kitchen with the revolver. Batman bursts through the window and, you know, takes down the Joker, and the gun falls right next to the father, and the father has a choice to make. He can shoot and kill the Joker in front of his son and go to jail for murder, or he can do the right thing and, you know, let Batman take care of things. And, you know, at some points in the novel, you're actually thinking, okay, this guy he's gonna kill the Joker. And the Joker's taunting him like he usually does, because Joker just doesn't care. If he can get somebody to go down the same path he did, then he won.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
And Batman kind of gives the father a choice, and it almost feels like in the novel that they're acting like Batman changed his mind and helped the dad, but I really think he was always going to. I don't think he would have ever let the Joker just kill his dad.
No.
Or the kid. So I think it's kind of interesting. I just don't understand what this author's thinking, because I'm thinking,
well, this author,
what is he thinking? Like, what?
I've read other books by him. He doesn't know the characterization of Batman.
Batman would never let that happen.
No.
And so anyway, so he tells the dad, he says, you know, you decide. You're either going to be a hero, you know, and he says, show your son that you are a hero, that you're not a criminal. So it's almost like at that moment, it shows that before he had called that guy a criminal, and now at the end,
he called him criminal scum.
Yeah, criminal scum. And at the end of the story, he calls the guy a hero. Show him you are a hero. He's pretty much giving him a chance to show him.
He's giving him a second chance. Like,
yes.
he's basically saying to him, you know, do the right thing and I won't bring you in. Like, I won't say you're an accomplice.
Yeah, I never even thought about it like that. So he's pretty much saying, you know, show me, you know, you're a hero. And the dad does. He does the right thing. I mean, what guy wouldn't have wanted to kill the Joker? That would have been easy to get rid of the Joker, because then he wouldn't come after you later and whatever. But then it would make him a criminal and make him go to jail, ruin his family, you know. So, you know, the guy does the right thing, and then at the end, you see that he actually ends up getting a little Wayne Enterprises little vest or uniform.
Yeah, he gets hired by Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne hires him, and there's a Christmas tree being brought in. It looks like Bruce Wayne is kind of helping their family a little, because their family is extremely poor. I mean, the little kid was, you know, he had to actually get a plant that the neighbor said was dying to make a makeshift Christmas tree before. So anyway, it looks like in the graphic novel that kind of Batman has changed and become less Scrooge-like, because, you know, Scrooge in Christmas Carol at the end, you know, helps Tiny Tim and his family.
By bringing the turkey and all this
gives
other
them the
stuff,
turkey and stuff like that. But I think it's interesting because Batman has acted very compassionately and helped other people.
Especially in the animated series.
Several other times.
And in other storylines, but the one that I think that they borrowed heavily from without even knowing is the episode Old Wounds, where Nightwing is retelling his last tale as Robin, where basically Batman was roughing up a Joker thug in front of his family, like his little boy and his wife. And Robin, you know, intervened and saw this and was like, Batman, don't do this now, not in front of his family. And like this. Batman just kept going. And that was when Robin was kind of like, you know what? I don't want to I don't want to be associated with this guy and fight crime the same way he does, because he's insane. You don't do that in front of somebody's family. That's just not right.
Kind of showed the split where Nightwing finally was like, you know, had that thing with. I mean, he wasn't Nightwing yet, but you know.
Right. He wasn't Nightwing yet, and he was just kind of like.
But he started the seeds of, you know,
seeds
where he
of
wanted
doubt.
to.
The seeds of doubt, because at this point
go his own way.
He's been working with Batman since he was like 11 years old as Robin. You know, he's just graduated from college. He has his girl. They're planning on getting married. You know, and then what really set him over the edge was when Batman, you know, had Barbara Gordon volunteer to assist with bringing down the Joker. And it didn't matter what Barbara said. At that point, Dick's mind is made up that Bruce is a manipulator. He's cold-hearted. You know, he does all this stuff. And it's not until later in his career that he learns that that same man who he roughed up in front of his family, you know, and made his little boy cry and all this other stuff, not only does he have a job at Wayne Enterprises, but he has a good job. He's not a criminal. You know, Bruce Wayne is never too busy to stop by and ask how his little boy's doing, or actually, you know, older boy now, because we don't really know how many years it is that Nightwing has been Nightwing. Like, they don't really
Right.
tell you, like, how much time has passed.
So you can kind of see the compassion. It's almost exactly. It's very similar
It's very
to this
similar to that.
storyline. I really think that the author of this really borrowed from that animated
Without even
series
knowing.
episode.
Without even knowing.
But he gets a job at Wayne Enterprises and gives his dad a job, and exactly takes care of him. But I always wonder if Nightwing or if Dick Grayson influenced him a little on that, with the compassion.
Or if Batman was just planning on doing that the entire time.
But either way, whether he was influenced or not, he definitely has compassion. I mean, he helped Two-Face
with the surgery.
With the surgery, he even helped, like we were talking about Azrael in one of our other episodes, where he gave him money to help out his look for his dad and stuff like that. And he helped several Robins. He helped Bane. I mean, he always goes above and beyond. He does things he doesn't have to, even when everyone else is totally saying, okay, there's no hope for this person. Bruce Wayne. Oh, also Clayface. He was trying to help him.
Yeah, he tried to help him.
So.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting. And then at the end of this story, you see the dad kind of telling this story to the young Tim. But
he's telling it in a way that he really can't have inside information. So that's why I definitely say that he was just doing a loose interpretation of the Christmas Carol, like trying to remember it from memory.
And then they kind of put it
parallel
against,
it with a Batman story that's going on.
Yeah. So the actual. Yes, the events that are actually happening that night to Batman are different. They're sometimes similar, but they're also sometimes totally different. But they move the story of Scrooge alongside what he goes through that night. So it's very interesting. I don't know. I much prefer the original Christmas Carol for many reasons. Mainly because there's definitely a good and evil, good versus evil, and that I feel like this story was kind of ambiguous to what was right and wrong. I think it didn't understand, like the author didn't understand that Batman was doing what was right, and I think it kind of the story left you up into interpreting your version of right and wrong, like and I think the Christmas Carol was very different than that. It's a totally different meaning at the end of the story. So other than that, I mean, it was really interesting, I've never seen a Christmas Carol put it against a Batman story. I wish it had kind of a different moral and a different perspective on Batman. I wish that the author understood Batman more and his compassion, but it's very interesting.
It's still not bad. Yeah. I would strongly, I mean, if you guys are interested in looking it up, it's currently available on Amazon. We have a link in our description if you want to go check it out. So I would, it's a pretty good Christmas story. There are other Batman Christmas stories out there, but that's going to wrap up our take on the Noel Batman. The skin is pretty cool from what you can see. It's a much darker interpretation of Batman's costume, which actually you saw the change in the novel where Batman was kind of wearing like the Adam West or like 90s blue Batman suit too. After Todd died, he adapted kind of like this dark gothic Batman suit, which is definitely what you see here. And we don't know, I guess if it was a true Scrooge story, then at the end of the novel, I would have liked to see Batman swinging away in like the blue and the blue and gray.
He would have changed.
That would definitely approve the whole Scrooge thing, but
also,
they didn't do that.
At the end of I believe at the end of Scrooge, the actual Christmas Carol, he actually ends up going to dinner with his family at the end. And so I think that, if Batman had actually participated with his family and changed in that way, maybe that would have, but that never happened.
Yeah, the ending is very ambiguous other than what happens to the little boy and the father, which I guess they were the main characters the entire time. Yeah. It's kind of like the ending that I wanted to see for this game. I know it's a little sappy, but the whole time Bruce and Alfred are talking about like sitting down and having a Christmas meal. I think the game should have ended after, Joker was incarcerated and things like that. Bruce and Alfred are sitting down for a nice, like, Christmas dinner in the morning. It's not like they have to say anything to one another. They just smile and they start eating their dinner, and that's the end of the game. I think that would have been a very cute, sappy, heartwarming ending and showing Batman, changing a little bit. But like I said, that's going to conclude our take on Noel. Join us all this month and as the skins are released, as we take a look at more of Batman's history and the different incarnations of the character, Elseworld storylines, things like that. Let us know what you think of this lore, and if you want to see more, we'll do our best to accommodate you on that, as it does take us a while to research everything and just make sure that what we're going over is correct and that we're providing the best synopsis we can. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to tickle that like button so we know that you guys like these kind of videos, as we did with our Arkham City series. And we hope you have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow with another Batman Arkham Origins side mission.
See ya.
Oops, that's it for this episode, kiddies. Join us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Be seeing you soon.